What I'm going to talk to you about today is our Slack agent mOperator. It's a productivity agent, but the first thing I want to do is circle back to a point that Cindy made, which is it's not the most technical people that are going to win at AI, it's the people that just fuck around and find out and figure it out, right? So I spent my early 20s eating crayons and shooting machine guns, so I especially love that point, and I'm going to come around back to it at the end. But we in the last 8 weeks of Q1, we saved about 200 hours, we're estimating, with our Slack agent mOperator. So what I'm going to do now is first pray that the demo gods are with us, and then I'm going to run through a very basic workflow here of very common use cases of our marketers have of we need to create a Salesforce campaign, we need to create a Luma landing page for events. We run a fuckload of events at Vercel, which is about 2.2 imperial fuckloads if you're doing the math. But one thing that we often have to do at the end of this is import a list. So like automating that whole workflow, putting it in Slack, making it easy to do is really key to how our marketing team can win and scale. And there's also 3 of us in marketing ops, and we have a team of about 55 we learned today. So we really need to land that as like, you guys need to be able to self-serve this. So what we have here is in our Slack channel, we can have mOperator in any Slack channel, but here we have a basic prompt for creating a Salesforce campaign. I'm gonna let it cook. And you can see here the description is we're gonna encourage people to use Vercel AI Gateway. So, and we're gonna call this the Marketing Engineer After Party. mOperator's gonna have a think, and it is going to throw one of these thinking messages in here to let you know it's working. It is working, so I'm gonna go ahead and click Create Campaign. And this is now going to create a campaign in Salesforce, and I can click on this link and actually see that it, in fact, does exist. It is that ID. And go back to Slack. And the next thing it's going to ask me for is a Luma landing page to set up my Luma landing page. One thing you'll notice on the Salesforce campaign, we have a lot of fields on these. One thing that we do to link it together is we populate a Luma event ID. So we need to do that. We need to create the Luma event. We all registered for a Luma event here. Again, I'm keeping the theme of the marketing engineer after party. And we don't show up at the Vercel office. We are not hosting this. I didn't know we were actually doing an after party, but pretend. So we're gonna let this think, let this have a cook. And it's gonna, again, the thinking messages are here as like a little lighthearted fun. I mean, you guys are old enough to know who Dig Dug is. But it's gonna say, like, there's 2 different ways to publish a landing page. Sometimes we wanna pre-approve people, sometimes we want to like make it a more open registration. This, all are welcome. So we're gonna say create open registration, and it's going to publish the Luma landing page and also give me that option of link to a Salesforce campaign. So if I go back to Salesforce, and I'm gonna grab my campaign ID real quick. Right there, right there. And I'm going to link the Salesforce campaign. Remember that field was blank a second ago. If I go back to it now and hit refresh, what I'm gonna see is my event ID is now here. So that simple workflow of the one thing I didn't show you as well was that the page exists, and it created the page. Honestly, like, you know, we'd put more content here if this was a real thing and like make it really compelling. I am not in marketing, I'm in marketing operations. So forgive my poor copywriting. We also have content agents we can hook into mOperator to write a better page, but that exists. And this would have been, the cool thing about this is like, if you're a startup that is harboring the aspirations of an IPO, compliance is important, and it's a bitch and a half to set up. So having the compliance fields here, country land all correctly. This is also tied into our Salesforce via tray. So we have workflows that just make sure everything lands correctly, all the data gets captured as it should. This would have taken a marketer 30 minutes or so to set up manually, and then all the opportunity for human error to set in. So when we think about agents and productivity, this really makes it land easy of like, you can't possibly mess this up. As long as the agent is working, it works really well. The last thing I want to do is grab that campaign ID, and I think I have a sheet open. So I have a couple sample records here. Let's say, this is me, Corey, and Ethan here at this event tonight. But let me go ahead and save this, and then I can come back to mOperator and say, hey mOperator, import this list. And then what it's going to do is, let me select the CSV. We have a list import agent, another app that we've shipped to our organization, that it's going to run these leads through the agent. It does a number of checks, some deterministic, some like qualitative. And this is throwing an error because it is saying, what is it saying? Campaign status set attended, but the campaign ID, oh, I didn't save it. So what it would normally do is, if I had properly saved the file, is it would actually sync the members to the Salesforce campaign, and we would go back to the Salesforce campaign and verify. The one thing I really want to impress, no matter how cool we make this agent, is always trust but verify. Assume the agent is hallucinating or performing as well as your favorite intern. But yeah, back to the slides. That all used to be tickets that would hit one of the three of us here on the second row, and then we would have to stop our day, go do something super tactical, and really, that's not the work we want to do. It's not impactful to the organization. It's necessary, but there's a lot of things that are necessary that no one wants to do, right? So this helps simplify that whole flow. And what you saw happen was essentially how mOperator works is you in Slack give it a prompt. It's going to then, mOperator is using various Claude models. We have it implemented with the AI gateway, so as models change, we can just say, hey, don't call Haiku or whatever it's called, or I think it's Sonnet right now. Call the latest Opus, like 4.8 instead, or switch from Claude Anthropic to an OpenAI model. Like every 6 months, this is gonna flip-flop, right? So that's something the Vercel AI gateway helps us do really well, is not lock into any one model. But what it's then doing is it's then going through, there's dozens of different systems we've integrated and hundreds of tools within those systems that it can call. So what mOperator is doing on the back end is determining first from the context of your prompt, which system is this going to, and then which tools within that system am I going to use to do what the person's asking me to. And then, you know, how that looks more tactically is we have the Slack event. It hits a planner. In this is kind of like how the architecture of the app works. It hits a planner, and then it checks if there's any permissions gate that it needs to use. Like some things like database writes into our Salesforce, we don't want just anybody doing, so we'll gate that behind. Mops has to approve it. There's some things though that like creating a Luma landing page, like yeah, all day marketing, like ship it. So those things are not approval gated. So it does a little check there. We'll loop through any sort of iteration it needs to do. Check any integrations it needs to use, any APIs it needs to call, checking any routes it needs to fire through, and then just produce the output. As I stated at the top of this, in the last 8 weeks of Q1, and I say 8 weeks because we didn't start tracking this until March 5th, we saved an estimated 200 plus hours. And be real transparent with you of how we came up with that math. We're taking how long our marketers told us something took them, and then we're saying there ain't no way it took that long. Here's how long we think it took. We averaged it together, and we came up with, on the conservative end, 200 hours. So we think it's probably even well north of that, and this is going to compound. The more tools we add to mOperator, the more functionality we build, it helps save time. And that speaks to, and this is just across like the most basic use cases of like list imports, audiences, building reports in Salesforce, creating emails, and creating campaigns is a weird one of like, how does it take you 15 minutes to clone a campaign? Sure, we'll build it into mOperator. And then building those event landing pages, whether you want to do it in Luma or on through our CMS, we use Contentful, it can do either way. I think Jack had a very similar slide of the agent absorbs that top end of like, I think every organization I've worked in from AWS to Vercel, we've never had, like we hire marketers at a higher clip than we hire marketing operations people. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but MOPS is not something we typically solve for or scale for through hiring. So how do we, us a 3-person team, support a 55-person org and growing? We will get headcount eventually, but mOperator is like one big bet of like, how do we use an agent as a force multiplier and really make it so there's all that necessary stuff that needs to happen. No one really needs to absorb that workload. It's just, we can like make the agent sweat it out. I think Ronnie made a very similar point. And if you want to, there's an open source version of this. I will caution you, it doesn't have as much TLC as the one that's built into our Slack, but there's a QR code there. You can go fork the repo, and yeah, have fun. Yeah.
You mentioned that you're having like 100 or 1,000 of connectors. Do you have any security considerations around it?
Oh, yes, many. Does anyone know what happened at the end of April? Yeah, we know. So security is a paramount concern, right? So the way that we've implemented mOperator with Salesforce, it's all IP restricted. So like we have IPs that are on allow lists. And then, of course, being Vercel, we deployed mOperator on Vercel. It's behind a secure compute instance, so only those IPs can even access our CRM. And everything else, like, very super sensitive key, like all of our keys by default are sensitive. So any environment variables that we have within the Vercel project, like they're what's the word I'm looking for, guys? Not encrypted at rest, but like they're only generated at the time of deployment, right? So an inherently more secure way of doing it. We will always, iterate to great is a big philosophy at Vercel, and we will always, like, security is like, especially when you're like this close to IPO, like we really want to make sure we land the security piece right. And when we had our security incident, there was a moment where I was like, it wasn't us, right? Like it wasn't anything we shipped, right? It wasn't. But yeah, great question.